Isn't it nice when we feel that we understand each other? Or even deeper than that, when we feel that we have a common cause and understanding. I get it, you get it, we get it. We are on the same page. We are on this together. Wait, I have more than that. These are our Jewish values, or these are the Judeo-Christian values. But then you see last week in Israel, 20,000 religious Jews gathered for a rabbi's funeral while we are in the middle of a pandemic. And you might wonder, are we in this together? Do we share an understanding of what is the meaning of Jewish values? Now, it is a common thing to think that we are on the same page and then to be surprised discovering that we are not so much. We tend to generalize the way in which we are affected by our experiences. And on a small scale, we do that with our families, but we do it also on larger scales, sometimes even with the entire society. Everybody understands it. The problem with this approach is that we might feel so true and real to us, what might feel so true and real to us, very often proves itself to be profoundly inaccurate for many others. There is a gap between self-consciousness and common understanding. Now, how do we bridge that gap? There is a wide agreement between Torah commentators that Abraham, our father, was well aware of the commandments. We take it from the 26th chapter of the book of Genesis, verse 5. Inasmuch as Abraham obeyed me and kept my church, my commandments, my laws, and my teachings, mitzvotai, will keep lishmor et mitzvotai. Now that's the book of Genesis. The Torah was given in the book of Exodus. And we see that these teachings were transmitted in the family from generation to generation. Yet, in our Torah portion, Parashat Yitro, we learn about the most foundational event for the Jewish people, Ma'amad Har Sinai, the giving of the Torah in Mount Sinai. And so the question is, why was there a need to say what was already known for generations? You would think that after crossing the Sea of Reeds, we all got it. They all understood it. And symbolically, the Torah says, even when you have gone together through a life-changing experience, even when you feel that that experience has created a foundation for common understanding, that's not enough. In order to have a common understanding, in order to bridge the gap between self-consciousness and civic behavior, we need a social contract. The Ten Commandments in Hebrew are called Aseret Adibrot. The word diber could mean a thing, and so this is sometimes translated as statements, the 10 statements. However, this word also shares its root with the word speaking, ledaber, dibur. These speeches are an invitation for a dialogue. And here is where a second component appears, covenant. The Matan Torah, the giving of the Torah, is also the receiving of the Torah and the willingness to transit through our journeys, engaging in its teachings. The story of redemption becomes such not when crossing the Sea of Reeds, but when entering the covenant at Sinai. Hadn't we entered the covenant, it would only have been the story of our people running away and getting lost in the desert. While we tend to believe that having choices is a powerful thing, making choices is even more. Our tradition teaches us that all Jewish souls among generations were present at the moment of Mount Sinai. So each of us understands her or his role as being partner in this covenant. We are presented from generation to generation with a timely invitation to link ourselves to this chain. The birth of what we call universal values is linked to that exact moment. And so Sinai, as a concept, is an inflection point in the story of society. Beliefs, feelings, emotions are of utmost importance, but they will never embody their gravitas if we don't speak them, if they don't become our narrative, if we don't articulate them, and mostly if we don't act them. And so is the reason that Judaism is not a dogmatic religion, but rather a covenantal one. We are not judged by what we believe, but rather by how we act. It is not enough to say that you believe in a concept like all humans were created in the image of God. You also must commit to the practical, you shall not murder. Or for example, in our days, to refrain from massive gatherings and to wear a mask. Maybe we need some fine-tuning there. Sinai, as a foundational event, reminds us that feeling that we get it, we understand it, we are on the same page, is not enough in order to create a sustainable union. It reminds us that long-lasting relationships require dialogue. They require mutual understanding. They require the flexibility to use old core values in order to interpret new challenging situations. And ultimately, Sinai reminds us that a runaway becomes the exodus, and a lonely ride becomes a shared journey when we articulate our commitments and our choices. May we choose. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.